Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. These poor Democrats, it's always the same thing that happens, it's almost like a repetitive news cycle. I think in the last 2 months I've made 3 specific videos of Democrats getting caught in their own lies, having their own quotes used against them, resulting in them sitting there speechless, stuttering, trying to figure out how to get out of it. The reason it happens so often is because Democrats are constantly lying. They say one thing and then they say another. It's the old Hillary Clinton public versus private statement. You say one thing behind the scenes, you say another out in public. You say one thing to your woke activist left base and another to the corporate Democrats and independents. And so here we go again with another massively viral moment, this time involving the infamous Mad Maxine Waters, who becomes an absolute stumbling, stuttering mess after being confronted, after being challenged on the issue of socialism with her own words. A statement that she made being read back to her. The mad lad, Chip Roy, strikes again. And let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends, so take a look at this headline right over here from the Gateway Pundit. Must watch. Mad Maxine Waters denies that she's a socialist, but Chip Roy delivers the brutal truth by quoting her own words. If Congresswoman Maxine Waters were not such a vile figure, one could pity her. Congressman Chip Roy on Tuesday delivered one of the grandest routs of a radical left-wing figure in recent memory. The verbal beatdown was so damaging that Waters was forced to denounce her own political beliefs on multiple occasions. Take a look at this viral clip that has already amassed millions of views.
Now, we can go around and around in circles about trying to talk about and defining socialism, but at its core, I was intrigued by an op-ed that I saw not too long ago by a Democrat from Cuba commenting on one of our colleagues, an avowed socialist, and essentially pointing out the extent to which democratic socialism is a lot like the system my family fled, except its proponents promised to be nicer when seizing your business. And that's the truth. That's the truth here. And so we can talk about these terms as if they don't matter, but they do. They do matter. They're actually at the core of who we are. I've got one question for the ranking member Waters. In a 2008 hearing, you said, quote, "And guess what this liberal will be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, would be about basically taking over the government and the government running all of your companies," end quote. It's a simple question. Do you stand by that statement?
Simple answer. I am here today in this Rules Committee because we're taking up time with basically a non-issue. First of all, you claim that socialism has engulfed this country, that it keeps creeping, it's going to take over private businesses, et cetera, et cetera. That is not happening. We're in a democracy that we're trying very much to save and to not have disrupted, undermined in the way that...
So then, reclaiming my time, the gentlelady denounces your previous statement then and do not accept that previous statement that you think you would take over these private businesses?
I'm not a socialist. I'm a capitalist.
So this liberal will be all about socializing, will be all about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies. You disagree with that? You now denounce that statement?
I am not a socialist.
Okay.
All right?
So I appreciate the response. I think that to the extent that one has a concern as a member of this body or as an American watching this, one has concerns when we hear statements like this, and that's not the only one, and statements by some of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle extolling the virtues of socialism. As I just pointed out, a nicer way of confiscating businesses, a nicer way of confiscating the assets and the means of production.
Now, firstly, I hope all the Democrat, socialist, communist, revolutionary types, all the young Democrat voters were listening carefully.
I'm not a socialist. I'm a capitalist.
This has to be a joke. I cannot believe this is happening.
This is the second time the socialist base gets thrown under a bus. Remember the time Joe Biden claimed that he wasn't a socialist, he beat the socialist.
I beat the socialist. That's how I got elected. That's how I got the nomination. Do I look like a socialist? Look at my career, my whole career. I am not a socialist.
But in Maxine Waters' case, it's a little bit different, specifically because of that quote. In 2008, Maxine Waters said, "Guess what this liberal is all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, would be about basically taking over the government and the government running all of your companies." That doesn't sound like democratic socialism. It certainly isn't capitalism. That right there is communism. Calling it socialism would be a little bit too generous. And here you see how these Democrats say one thing to a certain group and another thing to another. Maxine Waters is on the record advocating for the government taking over industry. This is exactly who the Democrats are. Whether we're talking about the more honest, more extreme left-wing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez Democrat or the more corporate establishment Democrat, at the end of the day, all roads lead to socialism. It's just that some are a little bit more unapologetic. The policy stances all lead to the exact same direction. This is what Democrats want. They want a continued bloated expansion of government. They want government to take over every single aspect of your life. They want government to take over industry. It's a slippery slope. You know, on paper, socialism always sounds so fine and dandy. We'll pay our taxes and then the government will just spread things equally and everyone's going to have a perfect standard of living. But it never really works out that way, and it's always a slow march towards socialism and full-blown communism. It starts off with the government taking over healthcare. Then a liquor commission is started, and all of a sudden, small business owners can't even run a liquor store anymore. The government runs the liquor store. Then it moves to other industry, and when's it ever going to stop? At one point, the clothes you wear is going to be made by the government. The electric vehicle that you drive is going to be made by the government, or maybe the government's going to become so powerful that it's all just going to be public transit, and you won't even be able to drive a car anymore. They're pushing towards a WEF globalist-style government that's going to control the means of manufacturing, the products you use, the food that you eat. You're going to eat bugs and be happy. You're going to live in a pod and be happy. And all of it is going to be provided to you by the government for your own good. It sounds crazy. It sounds like a wacko conspiracy theory, but that's the end game. That's exactly where we're going. That's why these Western liberal nations are pushing so hard for a digital currency or medical passports. They want to know where you're traveling, where you're going, what you're buying, how you're using your money, what political candidates you're donating your money to, and they want to control all of it. Maxine Waters said the quiet part out loud. She claims to be a capitalist, but she wants government to take over companies. Also, I find it kind of funny how she calls herself a capitalist when her actions tell a very different story. California Democrat Maxine Waters caught in new nepotism storm after paying daughter $192,000 in campaign funds to run a slate mailer operation. By the way, this is added on top of the already $1 million in campaign funds that she's funneled to her daughter. She's a capitalist, but she certainly seems to live like an elitist Communist Party oligarch, collecting money from all the plebs as she sits in elected office doing absolutely nothing, generating no value for society, and miraculously generating millions upon millions of dollars for her family. If she was a real capitalist, she would be providing a service. There'd be an actual transaction involved in the money that enriches her and her family. All of these leftoids are the same. And this is exactly why the Democrat Party is so weak on China. Because they want to be China. Why would they attack Xi Jinping? They look at the CCP, they look at Xi Jinping and view it as the ideal model of government that they're trying to achieve for themselves. They're capitalist when it's convenient to them, and they're communists when it's convenient to them. When it's time to get votes from the young radical socialists, government should take over industry. When it's time to get money from their corporate donors, we're capitalists. When it's time to make money for themselves and sell products, we're capitalists. When it's time to enrich themselves off of campaign funds or taxpayer dollars, all of a sudden they're elitist, government communist oligarchs. They are not to be trusted. Democrats are all the same. You know, it's all masked as virtue, but really, it's manipulation. We care so much. That's what Democrats always tell you. Conservatives are callous, cold-hearted, they don't care about you. They want to see you suffer. We care. care, but they're all the same. They only care about themselves. They care about enriching themselves at the cost of everybody else. You know, in life, physically, people come in different shapes and sizes, but a communist Democrat comes in the same shape and the same size every time. It's always the same telltale signs. Bloated government, enriching themselves while doing absolutely nothing of value, and enforcing their ideas through propaganda and force. They'll lie to get what they want, and if you stand in their way, they'll do two things. They'll either try to destroy you with lies and manipulative tactics, or they'll use government power, this bloated government power that they created, this authoritarian government state, to suppress speech and to censor their opponents. They're all the same. Communists come in one size, one shape, one archetype, and Mad Maxine Waters and the rest of those Democrat goons all fit in that category absolutely perfectly. I have a very simple litmus test. If you can't condemn socialism outright, if you can't stand for individual liberty and freedom without hesitation, well then you're a socialist. There's no such thing as different degrees of socialist. It all ends up leading to the exact same end result in the end. It's a slippery slope, and once you start sliding down, there's no stopping. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.